welcome back to my math YouTube channel. In this video I want to talk about angles, how angles are measured. There are essentially two ways that we are going to measure angles. Guys, I'm sure you have already learned about these basic things in geometry, but we're quickly going to review it, and then we're going to go back to actually defining our trig functions for any angle. So far we have kind of restricted ourselves and defined trig ratios and trig functions only for acute angles, but guys, we can use the same idea, same type of definition to actually define trig ratios for any type of an angle. But before we do that, let us quickly try to understand how angles are measured. Guys, essentially there are two ways that we can measure angles. One is in a counterclockwise direction, and the other one is a clockwise direction. So guys, in order to illustrate that, I'm going to show you, I'm going to draw a XY plane, a coordinate plane, and we're going to try to understand it from there, because we also want to learn some basic terminology and basic things that we will need as we proceed and we try to define trig ratios for any angle. So guys, let us think about an X and Y coordinate plane, and let us say this is my X and Y coordinate plane. Guys, keep in mind, we like to think of this as our fixed side. Our angles are always measured with respect to this as the reference side. So this is also thought of as a reference side, and let me label this. This is called the reference side. So guys, we measure angles with respect to this reference side. So if we have now a terminal side that can go around these four quadrants, and let us say the terminal side is in the first quadrant, let us draw this terminal side. And guys, if we measure the angle again with respect to this reference side, and if we measure it in a counterclockwise direction, which is illustrated by this arrow right here. So if it is measured in a counterclockwise direction, then the angles are always measured as positive angles. So in counterclockwise direction, angles are measured as positive angles. Similarly guys, if this terminal side, and this is called the terminal side, and this terminal side, you can think of this terminal side like something that can just go around freely. So let us say if it is in the first quadrant, of course in the first quadrant it's going to be between 0 and 90, it's going to be an acute angle, but then it can go around and it can be anything greater than 90, or it can be any angle. So this is terminal side. Now if it is in the second quadrant, again it's going to be, if we measure in a counterclockwise direction, again it's going to be positive, and it could be in the third quadrant if we are still measuring with respect to that reference side, and in the counterclockwise direction it is still going to be measured as a positive angle. So whenever you are measuring angles in a counterclockwise direction, they are always measured as positives. And guys, most of the times we'll measure angles in counterclockwise directions, but sometimes we may also have to see what happens if we go in the clockwise direction. And guys, if we go in a clockwise direction and in the same XY plane, and if I have this is again going to be my fixed side or a reference side, this is my fixed side or reference side, and now let us say I have my terminal side right here in the third quadrant, and if I'm measuring it from in a clockwise direction, which is this direction illustrated by this arrow or identified by this arrow. So if it is a clockwise direction guys, then this angle will be measured as a negative angle. So what does that mean? Like here, if we measure this terminal side from the reference side in a counterclockwise direction, then it would be a positive angle. And if I measure that same angle, the angle that the terminal side makes, but with respect to again the x-axis or this reference side, but if we are measuring it in a clockwise direction, guys, then it would be a negative. So that is like two ways that we measure angles. So guys, in my next video, or maybe in this same video, let me actually talk about some key things that are related to measuring angles here, and that piece is called the coterminal, the idea of a coterminal angle. So guys, what are coterminal angles? So we want to talk about coterminal angles. It's very easy to understand, so I want to cover it probably in this video only. So guys, coterminal angles are the angles that have the same terminal side, Now let me illustrate that in with drawing an angle, and then from there we can see it. So guys, let me get rid of this. We already understand how to measure angles, two ways of measuring them, and let us quickly talk about this idea of a coterminal angle, or what are coterminal angles. So they are the angles that have the same terminal side. So for example, let us say I have two angles. I can think of two angles. Let us say I have this is my X, this is my Y. I'm measuring them with respect to this as a reference side, and let us say I have this angle, this terminal side. And guys, let us say that this, if I'm measuring it in a counterclockwise direction, let us say this is 120 degrees in a counterclockwise direction. But guys, at the same time, if I'm measuring the angle that this terminal side makes with respect to the reference side, if going in a clockwise direction, then we are talking about this direction right here. And in this direction, we already know that the sum of the whole angle, sum of all the angles, that if we go around all the four quadrants, is going to be 360 degrees. So if I have to calculate this angle, it is going to be 240. But since we are measuring in a clockwise direction, it's going to be, we have to put a negative, because when we go in clockwise direction, the angles are measured as negative angles. That is the difference. Now, let us look at the definition of a coterminal angle. It says the angles that have the same terminal side. So isn't negative 240 and 120 have the same terminal side? So what can we say about these two angles? Guys, 120 and negative 240 are coterminal angles. So it is very easy to kind of identify coterminal angles. Now, we can also use like a mathematical formula to calculate coterminal angles, because keep in mind, coterminal angles have the same terminal side, which means if we go around, we basically get to the same terminal side. So there's an easy way of finding this. If we want to draw it, then we can get it from there. Or if we want to do the math on this, then guys, it is as simple as like, if I take a 120-degree angle and I have to find the coterminal angles, and there can be so many of them, right? So what we can do is we can either add or we can subtract 360. Why 360? Because it takes 360 to go around and get to the same point. So if I add or subtract 360, I will get infinite number of coterminal angles to one particular angle. So most of the textbooks usually will ask you to find one or two coterminal angles. So for example, let us look at this 120 degrees and try to find some coterminal angles. So if we have to find, let us say we have to find one positive and one negative. So to find one positive, we'll just add 360. So if I add 360, what do I get? I get 0, 8, 480. So 480 is going to be coterminal, which means it is just going to, the terminal side is just going to overlap with this. And you can see that. 480, guys, let us actually verify that. 480 can be broken down as 360 plus 120, right? This is how we actually got it. So if I start from here, if I go 360, that means I go around this whole thing once, right? And then I have to go 120 again. That means I'm still going to overlap with this 120. Guys, if I keep on adding 360, I will still keep on coming back to the same terminal side. So adding 360, number of times, you can add that as many times as you like. It's all about going around these four quadrants. Or people also like to think of this as going around a circle. So you will just keep on getting back on the same terminal side, and that means you are able to get coterminal angles. That's why there's infinitely many number of coterminal angles that one can get from given any angle. Okay, guys, these are the positive ones. Then to get the negative ones, we're going to just, it's not too complicated to see what we do for the negative ones. We just keep on subtracting 360 from each of the angles. So here 120 minus 360 is negative 240. We already verified that this negative 240 is a coterminal angle. They just overlap. And guys, if we had to keep on finding more coterminal angles in the negative side or with negative values, guys, we just keep on subtracting 360 and you will keep on getting many different negative angles, which are basically measured in a clockwise direction. Okay, so that's how we find coterminal angles. Guys, if you have to find any coterminal angles, all you have to do is you have to add 360 or subtract 360, and you can keep on adding 360 depending on how many coterminal angles one wants. Okay, so this is a brief introduction to how angles are measured. Counterclockwise means positive, clockwise means negative, and then coterminal angles have the same terminal side. How do you calculate them? You keep on adding 360s if you want to find positive ones. If you want to find negative ones, subtract 360, or it also depends on what the particular angle that is already provided to us. Okay, so guys, I will see you in the next video with the trig functions or trig ratios that we are going to be defining for any angles. Till then, take care. See you next time.